It is so difficult to know what to believe in this market, but what I do believe is that Bitcoin will be moving lower over the course of the next few weeks. In today's video, we'll be talking about this, going over the most recent Bitcoin price action, also discussing what is going on between the US and Iran because we have that 8 p.m. deadline today. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. Taking a look at the Bitcoin price action, we can see here that we are currently hovering just around 68.6K. Now, yesterday we got that spike up to $70,000, and we discussed the fact that we should probably fade this rally. On the higher time frame, I still believe that Bitcoin will be dropping below $60,000. But in today's video, I won't just be talking about that. I'll also be taking you through what just came out. Now, in case you've been living under a rock, Trump said this on Truth Social this morning. A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. However, now that we have complete and total regime change, where different, smarter, and less radicalized minds prevail, maybe something revolutionarily wonderful can happen. Who knows? We will find out tonight, one of the most important moments in the long and complex history of the world. 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death will finally end. God bless the great people of Iran. This is absolutely ludicrous, especially the first part coming from the President of the United States. Now, obviously, the markets didn't react that well to this, but if you've been tuning into my content, I've discussed several times that the price action comes first. So, even if, for whatever reason, Iran and US agree to a ceasefire, which doesn't look that likely at this point in time, I still think that Bitcoin trends lower. I know this is probably not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. And if we take a look at what just happened, Iran, after this statement from President Trump, came out and essentially said that they're stopping their negotiation efforts with the United States. They informed Pakistan that they would no longer engage in ceasefire talks. And I mean, I guess it makes sense. But on the contrary, this just came out shortly after in the Tehran Times newspaper on X. Diplomatic and indirect channels of talks with the US are supposedly not closed. So what on earth can we believe? Are the talks between Iran and the US valid? Are they going to have a ceasefire? We know that President Trump had the 8 p.m. deadline. And just to give you a quick recap, he said that the US is preparing to carry out heavy strikes against Iran if his 8 p.m. deadline is not met tonight. If negotiations with Iran make progress today and something tangible emerges, the deadline could change. In other words, a potential taco situation once more. And if you don't know what taco means, it simply means Trump always chickens out. Now, I don't have any political views. I need to make myself extremely clear here. I'm just sharing with you how this could impact the overall markets. And if for whatever reason, Trump gives another deadline for Iran, well, maybe the markets can get a little bit of relief. But on the higher time frames, legends, we have to understand that this is still bear market price action. And you can see on the lower time frames, we're currently between the point of control and the value area high, but I entered a new short on Bitcoin, which was shared in my previous video. I talked about the fact that I was down a little bit on this new trade, but I'm currently up around $4,500 on this trade, and this was shared within my group. I trade the market whether we go up or down. Lately, it's been a lot more shorts than longs because I do think that Bitcoin will ultimately break down. But you can see here that this was another solid trade shared within my group. As always, if you want to know how I am personally trading the market, whether we go up or down, you do have the first link in my description down below. If you DM me the keyword CBM on Telegram, you'll be getting access to my group, which is completely free. The only requirement is that you've signed up with one of my affiliate exchange links and you start trading on there as you'd normally do anyways. So you click this link and DM me the keyword CBM if that interests you, of course. And on the higher time frame, I'm still holding my shorts from higher. You can see that I'm still shorting Bitcoin with my average entry around $80,000 after adding to my position and taking profits on the way down, of course. That's how you want to play this market. Now let's go over the higher timeframes once more. First, we need to consider the stock market. If the stock market can't reclaim this local high around 6,600, then it would suggest that we can already start rolling over once more. And obviously that doesn't bode over well for Bitcoin. But I wanted to show you this chart. It looks too similar to the last breakdown, where Bitcoin was slowly rising up, building that downside liquidity, and then boom, a brief move to the downside, dropping from the high of that move to the low approximately 35% plus. So there is a scenario where this can occur again, and you'll notice that this is starting to look very, very similar. In bear markets, Bitcoin tends to rise ever so slightly and creates downside liquidity before breaking to the downside. This isn't new. If we go back to the previous cycle, it's the exact same scenario. In that bear market, Bitcoin rose for months and then had a massive drop, rose for some more months and then had a massive drop. In bull markets, the opposite is true, where Bitcoin essentially slowly chops to the downside without any kind of major aggressive breakdowns, and then we build up that liquidity to the upside and then we break through. That's what I'm expecting to play out once more. For the bear market, we will likely break down. And to add to this, I'd like to also discuss the fact that from the high once more to these lows, Bitcoin has dropped just over 52%. We have never dropped only 50% and then resumed a massive uptrend to make a new all-time high. I am betting on the 4-year cycle theory. We know that midterm years are historically bearish, and I don't see why this would be any different, especially with these geopolitical tensions. So if we get a ceasefire, for example, and Bitcoin starts getting a little bit of a move to the upside, I would say once more, it's important to fade that move because it would likely only resort in another lower high. Of course, nothing that I discuss on the channel should be construed as financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. I'm just a guy on the internet sharing all of his own personal trades and his overall market analysis. So if we go back to this chart, I do think that it is not unreasonable for Bitcoin to break down sooner rather than later. And if I just take you through my accumulation chart once more, I will start slowly accumulating Bitcoin sub $60,000 with only 15% of my total cash, which is ready to be allocated towards Bitcoin. Then if we are to break below $49,000, well, I will start buying aggressively with 85% of my cash. And because some of you have continued to ask me, I will reiterate this. Why would I buy Bitcoin below $60,000 if I think we could be going sub $50,000? And it's because no one can time the perfect bottom. So I prefer to slowly get some exposure to the market once we start entering those deep value zones. And in the long term, I do think that a sub $60,000 Bitcoin is relatively attractive. In the previous bear market, I accumulated below $30,000 and I plan to get close to that bear market bottom once more. And to answer another question, yes, I will be trying to enter a couple of swing longs from these deep discounted zones as well, because I trade the market with leverage, but I also have a spot portfolio. If you want to know exactly how I will personally be navigating this for free, please remember you do have the first link in my description down below, but you don't need to join my group if you don't want to. I will be talking about it on the YouTube channel as well, but I go into more detail in that group and you get my exact entry and exits on my trades. So if we take a look at the liquidity, you'll notice that on a 7-day time frame, there is technically still more cumulative long liquidation leverage in the market compared to cumulative short liquidation leverage in the market. So this is something that you must consider. And taking a look at this liquidation heat map, we also have a lot of liquidity below $67,000. So let's see what comes out of these potential war negotiations between Iran and the US. But I still think that even if we are to get a little bit of a move to the upside, well, we will be dropping further. My most recent trade has been this trade, which I highlighted, and you can see that I'm currently up just over $5,000 on this Bitcoin short. In yesterday's video, I was down on this trade, but As I said, I'll be fully transparent, sharing with you all of my trades along the way. And in case some of you have been wondering, this exchange that you're seeing on the screen right now is called 2bit. I've been using them for well over a year now, but I only recently started promoting them on the YouTube channel because I know that some of you are not able to access Bluffin. 2bit is a very, very solid exchange. They let you trade not only crypto, but stocks and oil as well. And we know that oil has been skyrocketing here. If that interests you, please remember that you do have that link in the description down below where you can earn up to $60,000 in tradable funds after signing up with me on 2bit down below. So, to add fuel to this fire, Iranians have been forming human chains on bridges and infrastructure to protect the country against Trump. So what this means is if Trump is to strike these facilities, well, it would obviously impact all of these people as well. And outside of everything that's been going on with these war escalations and the crazy world that we live in, we also have to pay attention to economic data. And not many people have been touching on this. Durable goods orders month over month came in at negative 1.4% with the consensus at negative 0.5%. This just shows that the economy is still weakening, and we also have FOMC minutes tomorrow, along with the price index month over month, the growth rate on Thursday with personal income and personal spending month over month. And to add to that, we also have inflation data coming out on Friday. This is a pretty jam-packed week, and in my opinion, I do think that Bitcoin will likely be moving lower. I've stuck with that thesis for quite some time. I don't think that a 50% drop from the high to the low is enough. And I do think that Bitcoin will provide some excellent buying opportunities over the course of this year, to reiterate my point time and time again. And the final thing I'd like to cover in today's quick video is that Morgan Stanley Spot Bitcoin ETF is to begin trading tomorrow. Now, the reason why this is pretty significant is because we saw what happened when the ETFs launched in the first place. We got really solid price action for Bitcoin. Now, I don't necessarily think that we'll be getting this simply because a lot of people have different options to buy through the ETFs, where before, when the ETFs launched, there were essentially no options unless you wanted to buy from a centralized exchange or OTC, whatever it may be. But it is noteworthy that Morgan Stanley are launching in the bear market, which is quite smart if you ask me. They will have some of the lowest fees on the market, and Morgan Stanley, remember, have over $6 trillion in assets under management. This is definitely something that you shouldn't ignore. Despite us being in a bear market, when the buying pressure comes back, I would be shocked if a lot of it did not come from Morgan Stanley's clients. And that sums up today's quick video. War escalations continue, but the charts always come first. And on the higher time frame, the structure is still bearish. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. As always, I have my Bluffin leverage trading tutorial right here, and I'll see you in the next video.